Hey guys, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. I am going to talk about something that is kind of different, but actually something that is sort of been something I've thought about and been thinking about doing and talking about for a while. And it just so happens that Paris Hilton is coming out with a new documentary, and she is going to be talking about her time in a troubled teen therapy center when she was in high school, and the multiple places she was sent to by her family to deal with her behavior. And this has been something a lot of you guys have brought up. We did a video a while ago about Hephzibah House, which was a home that was run by Christians, and it was alleged for the same sort of issues where families were sending their young girls to go get right with the Lord, and there was all kinds of allegations of ABUSE, not getting fed enough, not being taken care of when they're ill. And eventually this house closes. But the problem is that there's houses like this all over the country. Some are faith-based, some are not. Some have actual licenses and are approved and regulated by the government, or say they provide, therapeutic environments for kids. There's wilderness programs all over this country where parents pay money, or insurance pays money, to send kids into the wilderness to sleep on the floor and make, fires and pick rocks and sticks. And somehow that is going to help them deal with what's going on the inside. A lot of these therapy programs were designed in the 60s, 70s, long before we really understood the benefits of different kinds of cognitive therapies. And these camps are often, or these therapy centers seem to be sort of like a last resort for parents who want to straighten their kids up and they don't feel like anything else is working. Earlier this summer, I did a story about 8 passengers, Ruby and Kevin Frankie. They actually sent their son Chad to a wilderness camp. Now, they don't like that people criticize their choice, and they say that he benefited from this. But the fact is, the camp that he went to and the wilderness center that he went to it's been riddled with problems for years. In fact, he admitted when he got home that he had a toe that was broken and he didn't receive the proper medical care. So there's always been these questions about the troubled teen industry and these sort of fix it and send me away to fix my kid camps. Now, Paris Hilton is an interesting one because she is this humongous superstar. I mean, her star has dimmed quite a bit over the last several years. She was first, she blew into our lives when she was in The Simple Life, and when she was a debutante that was sort of running all over Hollywood, wearing she was scantily dressed, she was going out partying. And then there was the infamous tape between her and her ex-boyfriend that got leaked, and then she became known sort of as Paris in the tape, which then prompted, Kris Jenner to do that with Kim and Ray J. Anyways, so Paris was always someone that was sort of wild and out there, and I guess her parents didn't like that, and so she was sent away multiple times to different camps to deal with her issues. And this is what she's going to be talking about in her upcoming documentary. A lot of the times over the last several years, I have wondered, Paris is 38 years old, almost 39, I think. And she still been sort of stuck in this persona of being that 21-year-old, 22-year-old that was on The Simple Life, that was acting ditzy and dumb and saying that's hot and having all her little catchphrases and, being this persona or a character versus who she really was, coming off ditzy and stupid and dumb. And apparently this character she developed after she was at this camp, or while she was there at this therapy center, because she needed a way to escape into a fantasy so that she wouldn't have to deal with what she was dealing with while she was there. And then she said she just focused on what she wanted to become, and then it's just sort of defined her, as she has not really dealt with it. And she's going to be opening up about her time at these centers. Now, it's alleged that she went to a couple different ones in Utah, one called Provo Canyon School, and there might be another one called Cascade. Now, I don't think the Cascade School is still open, but Provo Canyon School is. And if she attended that school, I am it's going to be interesting to see what she said, because I was Googling Provo Canyon School and I happened to find a video by a girl that had gone to the school in the mid 2000s. And she talked about how when she was there, she became so sick that she ended up on life support and they wouldn't actually take her to the doctor because they didn't believe she was ill. She developed tuberculosis. She almost died. And even while she was at the hospital, they were like watching her as though she was going to run away. And she talked about just like everything that they did to her, from, you know, not having privileges to all the different verbal and physical things that they did to her. You know, it's sad because the system is really unregulated. So apparently Paris is going to start talking about this, and it got me into a article from the Huffington Post actually that was written a while ago, and it was talking about this industry. And their issue, they say, is because it's not regulated very well. There's not a lot of oversight. So this is what they said. If you have an institution where you have vulnerable people, power will almost always occur unless you have very strong safeguards against them. And this was especially if you have vulnerable people who can't contact the outside world. And that was a quote from Maya Salavitz, a journalist who wrote a book called Help at Any Cost. And she said that in itself is a recipe for a. And then in another quote, it says, at least 1,500 children in 30 states alleged that they were at private treatment facilities in 2005 alone, according to the 2008 Government Accountability Office report. And at least 28 states had one or more deaths in residential treatment facilities last year. And this specific was about Island View, which was, you know, one of many of these troubled schools. Now, Island View is one, but then you have the one that she's going to talk about, maybe Provo Canyon, which follows the CEDU. And it's apparently like they make you scream at each other, yell at each other, tell each other all your bad things. And apparently they have this whole adage of, we're going to beat you down to lift you back up. And this sort of reminds me of like all of these like self-help groups that have very limited, primal almost. Like, you need to be beat down in order for us to make you feel better, which is exactly the opposite way of how you actually heal. It reminds me of very Tony Robbins, if you ask me. But what I find interesting is that she's never talked about this, and she's 38 years old, and she's developed this whole image. And it makes me realize how many people out there, like Paris, are deeply troubled by this industry. And so I was doing some digging and diving and thinking maybe we could start covering some of these schools. So my request to you guys is, if you have a school that you know about, if you attended one, if you know anything, tell me about it, and I will like be pointed in that direction. But at the end of the day, like, we need to have more open conversations about these places, because if teens are being put there with this idea that parents think it's going to help them and it actually makes things worse, that helps no one. And then it adds a whole nother level of trauma to that person that they don't deserve. And it's sad to me that if this is what her reality was, that she didn't feel like she could speak about it, or that she had to escape from it by creating a persona. Like her or hate her, that's not a reality anyone should have to deal with. Now, her documentary called This Is Paris will be coming out in September, and it's a YouTube original documentary. I'm actually pretty excited to watch this because I want to see the real Paris. I've always wanted to see who the real Paris is and not the character she plays on TV. And I want to see what she has to say about these centers, because the more people that come forward that have large platforms, the more all of us can learn about why these types of places are not okay. I mean, I was with my husband last night and I was watching this, and then I started going Provo, and then I started looking at all these different schools, and I was like, this is terrible. Like, at the school she was at, they found that they were having like there was a fight club between staff members and the kids. So it was like, it wasn't approved by any means, but it was like an unofficial fight club that they were doing, where they were literally like hurting each other at the same school. Seriously, in 2018 or I don't even remember the year, but seriously. So, are you surprised that Paris like went to one of these schools? Does it shock you that this is why she might have like been creating this sort of persona? Is this Do you have experience with any of these? I would love to hear this. And again, we're going to start talking about this more on this channel. So I am interested to hear your insight, and I'll be back later with more. Bye, guys.